evening, everyone, and welcome to the third annual Voices for Truth and Humanity Gala. I would like to start by introducing my friend Gary Glick, who is the commander of the New York State Jewish War Veterans, and he will be coming on the stage now to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, just before I do have the Pledge of Allegiance, I just want to say the Jewish War Veterans were established in 1896, the Hebrew Association, and we were started in 1896. And we were started because of a certain party said that, we did not serve during the wars, and we did. And it happened to be Mark Twain. And in 1896, we were formed in New York City on Lexington Avenue at that date. And we have the papers to show it. And we're still going strong, and we always served during every war. And I just want to give this is from the national commander of the of the whole United States, of all the Jewish war veterans, Nelson Meltzer. The Jewish War Veterans of the USA is the patriotic voice of American Jewry. JWV is dedicated to support all American military and veterans. The JWV will fight against anti-Semitism wherever it raises its ugly head, support the State of Israel, and continue to be the voice of the Jewish war veterans. Nelson Meltzer, who just was... Now, for my part, okay. Good evening, fellow voice, distinguished guests, brothers and sisters in our great cause. I stand before you today being a transformed person. Yes, transformed. When I first started, I was very shy. I didn't get involved. And before I knew it, I became commander of the Jewish War Veterans and now the state commander, and been working with the people from Voices. And I really found my niche and to help out. And now I have become a new strength and purpose, have also advanced to commander of the JWV for New York State. This has also given me the air of our national leadership and additional avenues to follow in spreading our message of hope and peace. It was great pride that I joined forces with Voices and look forward to success in spreading our message for betterment of life all we touch. At this time, may we pay our respects to our nations, which has given us the opportunities that no other country can match: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Let us rise, and we will be led by Maury, who's 100 years young. Present the colors, please. Color guard.
Color guard. Forward, march. Color guard, halt. Color guard, left face. Present arms.
All right, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America. It's America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms.
Okay. National anthem will be, okay. Eric,
Color guard, present arms.
okay. Eric, you can, okay. 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 Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, by the dawn's early light, that we had as the twilight lights as clean. And our flag was still days there. Color guard, please retire the colors.
Color guard, right face. Color guard, forward, march.
Good evening, everyone. It really is a privilege to join with all of you in support of Voices for Truth and Humanity. What a very important concern for us all to be identified with this organization. You've heard it already, and you'll be hearing it throughout the evening, how important it is that we not forget the world history and understand the context of the times that we are living through. So I really want to commend and acknowledge the great work of this organization, the board members, the leaders, Jack Britvan and Glenn Landau and Hank Levy and Angel Zapata, and all of those who give their time and effort to make Voices the very important and successful organization that it is. How about a round of applause for the board members? And it's certainly a privilege to be in the company of your very special guests, a dear friend of mine and someone who has done so much for all of us across New York State. Our Regent, Roger Tillis, joins us. Roger, great to see you. And Martin Block, and talk about history and understanding that we can never forget. Martin, thank you for being a survivor and a witness and sharing your important story with everyone. And Prime Minister Haider, thank you for your presence and being with us as well. Give the Prime Minister a round of applause. I didn't see our friend Rabbi Potasnik yet, but it's always great to be in his company as well. To the honorees, certainly to Rabbi Mark Golub and the Jewish Broadcasting Service, City National Bank, represented by Davi, congratulations to you. And a special word about our Public Service Award honorees, our two legislators, because that really gets to the point of what Glenn and Angel were talking about. The importance of education and understanding must happen in our schools. It must happen with our youngest citizens. And that's an area where we know we have been falling short. And it took leadership, incredible leadership by two individuals to really bring this issue to the fore in New York State. It's not easy to get legislation passed in New York State, but these two individuals are people I know well. Very appropriate that you are honoring them because they have really come through with the Holocaust education. We used to call it the bill, now it's the law. State Senator Anna Kaplan, who happens to be my personal state senator, I'm very proud to say, is a tenacious fighter on so many issues. She does an extraordinary job in the Senate. She was a great member of our town board. She is an advocate for our business community, chairs an important committee in that regard, but she really made it her mission to have this bill become a law. And she needed a partner in the state assembly. You can't get anything done in Albany without the assembly along with the Senate. And Assembly Member Neely Rosick from our neighboring county of Queens, she found someone who is equally fierce in working with legislative colleagues to get the job done. So Senator Kaplan and Assemblymember Rosick, they worked long and hard on this legislation, and they had to convince their colleagues, and it wasn't as easy as you may think, that yes, we may have something on the books that says this must be taught in the schools, but it's just not happening, and the state education department must do a better job to provide oversight and implementation of these programs. They could not have done it without great support, and I also want to acknowledge our Assembly colleague, Steve Stern from Suffolk and Nassau County in the new district, who also was such a key part of this initiative. We all know the painful history, but we want to make sure the next generation knows it. And in the context of the times we're living in, as I referred to very briefly, we have to acknowledge that there's a terrible increase in hate crimes, much of that directed to the Jewish community, even in our own state, even in our great city of New York. This has to be troubling and concerning. And I have to believe that part of the problem is that some of the folks just don't understand the history. And that's why this legislation is so key. And it's also an opportunity for us to recognize that there are other issues out there that we must continue to be focused on. I know it's not quite in the context of Holocaust education, but I'm very concerned about the corrosive impact of the BDS movement, boycott, divest, and sanction with regard to Israel. And I want to report to you, so those of you who don't know it, we have a very specific policy with the pension fund that I manage, that any company that engages in BDS activity, we will divest our pension funds from them. And we did that recently with Unilever, you know, the Ben & Jerry's issue that's been out there, because there's a thin line between what we're talking about and what is going on in that regard. So there's a lot of work to do. But the individuals who you are honoring tonight are certainly individuals and organizations who have been making an incredible difference. And I really want to particularly commend my colleagues in state government for tackling this issue. Anna Kaplan, Senator Kaplan, and Assemblymember Rosick, they really have made a difference, because we want to make sure the young people coming up today understand what happened, understand that in a civilized Western society, how the civil government, how the judiciary, how the military was completely subverted and turned against the Jewish community and so many other communities. It happened not that long ago, and we want to make sure it never happens again. So thank you for your support of this wonderful organization.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It seems like just a couple of weeks ago we were together celebrating great accomplishments, and it really is a privilege to be back with everybody for some very special presentations this evening. First of all, to my good friends Glenn and Angel, thank you for all the outstanding work that you do for all of us who are part of this very important organization. So thank you. And to my very, very good friend, who we could probably all agree is by far the greatest public servant in the great state of New York, our great comptroller, Tom DiNapoli. Thank you, Tom. So this is a special presentation for me. When you have had the opportunity to serve for a few years in government at a couple of different levels of government and do important work with a lot of vital organizations, once in a while you get recognized for the work that you do. And so there might be plaques, there might be certificates, there might be proclamations. Last year, on this evening, being the recipient of great recognition from this organization, the award was a baseball bat. And I can tell you that, and my wife yells at me on almost a daily basis, that as the rabbi said before, never forget, with an exclamation point. I'm swinging that baseball bat in my living room on almost a daily basis. Every time a Met game comes on, I can tell you that I'm swinging that bat as I'm watching the game. So certainly, I will never forget. And I will never forget that great honor from this wonderful organization. So with that, it is really my personal pleasure to make the the introductions to our honorees this evening. And I got to tell you, it is really a pleasure for me because they happen to not just be outstanding representatives of their districts and members of the New York State Legislature, but they also happen to be good friends. And so let me first introduce the first recipient, Senator Anna Kaplan. Anna Kaplan was born Anna Manahami in Tabriz, Iran, to a Jewish family. When the Islamic Revolution swept the country, Anna's parents made the difficult decision to send her on her own to the United States for her safety. She arrived in Brooklyn as part of an international effort to save Iran's Jewish children, led by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and was sent to live with a foster family in Chicago where she learned to speak English, her fourth language, having been raised speaking Aramaic and Farsi at home and learning Hebrew. Senator Kaplan was granted political asylum by the United States government. After her family was finally reunited, they moved to Queens, where Anna graduated from Yeshiva University, Stern College for Women, and then the Cardozo School of Law. Today, she has devoted her life to public service as a way of giving back to the country that has given her so much, becoming the first and only Jewish refugee elected to the New York State Legislature. Now serving in her second term as New York State Senator representing the 7th Senate District in Nassau County, Anna has been an outspoken voice against anti-Semitism and hate and a strong supporter of Israel and of efforts to teach our children the history of the Holocaust. Additionally, she has fought to protect women's access to reproductive health care and to stop senseless gun violence, authoring landmark legislation to protect reproductive health care access and to make ghost guns illegal in the state of New York. I know firsthand Senator Kaplan's great work. We've had the opportunity to co-author and co-sponsor several important legislative initiatives which have now become law and have made a real impact for so many throughout the state of New York, particularly on economic development issues and supporting our local businesses. Assemblywoman Neely Rozek has a tremendous introduction. I'm going to go through much of it. But I would tell you that there are few better legislators in the New York State Assembly than Assemblymember Rozek. Neely represents New York's 25th District, which spans the eastern portion of Queens. Upon her election in 2012, Assemblywoman Rozek became the youngest woman in the state legislature and the first woman to ever represent the 25th District. She's currently the chairwoman of the Assembly's Committee on Consumer Affairs and Protection, which works to protect consumers from fraud and discriminatory business practices, ensure data privacy, and regulate credit and pricing practices in New York. In 2017, Neely was the chair of the Task Force on Women's Issues, and in 2020, she was the chair of the Assembly's Office on State and Federal Relations, spending time in Washington as the liaison between members of the New York State Assembly and our federal representatives in the United States Congress. Assemblymember Rozek also serves on the Assembly's Ways and Means Committee, the Labor Committee, Committee on Corrections and Corporations, Authorities and Commissions. She's a member of the Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Asian Legislative Caucus and the Puerto Rican Hispanic Task Force. Neely's an outspoken advocate for working and middle-class families, immigrant communities, and students. She's already sponsored and passed legislative initiatives aimed at revitalizing New York's environment, expanding government transparency, and strengthening the state's workforce development system. She's also committed to social justice, equality, and opportunity for all. She has been presented with several honors and was named a Rising Star in the City and State's annual list of the next generation of political leaders for becoming an influential force in New York State politics as a young elected official. She was also selected as one of Jewish Week's 36 under 36 and has been a featured speaker in so many important conferences throughout the years dealing with issues that we all care so deeply about. A graduate of New York University, Neely proudly calls Fresh Meadows home. So it is, again, a wonderful personal privilege to present this year's honorees, Senator Anna Kaplan and Assemblymember Neely Rozek.
It's the bill. What Angel was just asking me to say is that what's framed in here is actually the bill that they wrote. So this is very, very poignant.
They are actually, it's copies of the legislation, right, that have been signed into law. We saw the picture up on the screen a little while ago. And as was mentioned before, getting a bill passed through the New York State Legislature and having it signed by the governor is not easy, especially for the issues that we care so deeply about, that we know are common sense